Naija YouTube channel. I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers. I really appreciate you guys a whole lot for subscribing to my YouTube channel. Seriously, I appreciate you guys for the tremendous support you guys have rendered to me here on this channel. I really appreciate you guys sincerely from my heart. I do. If you are new to my channel, today is the first time of you coming across my YouTube channel, Stylish Naija YouTube channel, I would appreciate if you will hit on the subscribe button and then also hit on the bell on the side to get an update whenever I upload a new video. That's just like basically the essence of hitting on that bell, so when I post you will see it. Today, okay, before I continue, my online classes and for this month the registration is ongoing, so you could see my number just scrolling through the screen. You could send me a message and then I'll give you the details of how to register for the class. You have to register for the class before you can be a participant. So let's just get started. Today I'm going to be showing you how to cut and sew a trendy rope waist and dolman gown or a dolman dress. That's basically what I'm going to show you. It is really simple. This is a project that even a beginner, you could actually pull this off as a beginner. That's what we are going to be doing today. A trendy rope waist dolman gown dress. So let's just get started. So the fabric that I'm going to be using, I'm going to be making use of 2 yards of Ankara fabric. So I have 1 yard of this and then 1 yard of this pink one. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just divide them in the middle and then I'll join them together. I'll just divide them and then I want to try and mix match the Ankara. So I'm going to take one piece. So I'm just going to fold out the fabric now and then we'll continue with the explanation for the class. So thank you so much. Okay guys, so the total amount of fabric that I'm going to be using for this dress, for this rope and waist dress, is actually 2 yards of fabric. So the next thing we're going to do now, we're going to fold our fabric, but for the front, because the front, I'm going to add a collar to the front, so I'm going to be opening the front. So I'm going to open up one of my pieces right now. That's what I'm going to use as my front piece. Okay, I have now have my fabric folded, so I'm going to explain what I have and how I folded it. So the part that I'm using to fold my fabric is the length of the sleeve. That's the half of the across back measurement, which is from the center of your back. What I'm using is about 20 inches. That's what I'm using. The allowance is included, so I'll just pull it so you see the allowance is included. So the sleeve is actually 19 inches. That's from half of the back. Let me just say this is the half of my back to where my sleeve is going to be, since it is a dolman. So I'm using the 20 inches. And then the first measurement that I have here is my bust line measurement, which is 10 inches, and then the waist measurement is 17. That's where I'm going to be adding the rope. And then this is the hip measurement, which is 26 inches, and then I have the full length of my dolman dress, which is 40 inches. So I'll just use this remaining part as my head folding allowance. So we're going to continue right now. We're going to start imputing our measurement. Okay, so the first measurement I'm going to be imputing now from this center point, so I'll move it so you see it properly, is the neckline measurement. So for the neckline, I'm using 3.5 inches. It is going to be a V neckline, but I'm just going to cut it out round first before I work on it. I'm going to cut the back and the front first, so I just want you to note what I'm going to be doing. So from this point, I'm going to come like this. I would use 1 inch. So this is for the back neckline, and then the front neckline, I'm going to be opening the front. So I'm going to use from this point, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to remove this same measurement. I'm going to remove this same measurement, but I'm going to reduce it. As I'm coming down, I'll reduce it because I don't want the dress to be open in front. So I'm going to reduce it from the bust line point. I'll reduce it to 2 inches because I'm going to replace it back with a collar, with a straight collar, so you see it. So I'll reduce to 2 inches. I'm just going to cut off 2 inches which I'm going to replace and back. So from the top part, from this top part, I'm going to continue with the 3.5 inches. So I'll rule it straight out now for you to see. Okay, towards and the down part, I reduced it from the down part. I reduced it to 1 inch. So that's from the hem line towards the hem line. So this one is my 2 inches. So I'm going to cut out the back now, and then I'll cut out this straight line for only the front piece before we continue. So the back neckline is cut off, and then for the front, so let me just continue before I cut out the front. Let's leave the front. When we're done, we'll cut off the front. So in order not to confuse you, so you see it will still be obvious. So we're going to continue now. From this point, I'm going to come like this. I'll drop by 1.5 inches. I'm going to use that 1.5 inches as my shoulder slope. Okay, so I've done the shoulder slope. So we're going to cut it off now. So I've cut off the shoulder slope, but you remember, you see our front and neckline is still here. I've not cut it out. So I just want you to see it and properly, so in order not to confuse you. So from this point now, this ends of our sleeve measurement, I'm going to come like this. You are going to create your sleeve opening. Depends on how big and wide you actually want your sleeve opening to be. So remember the inch that you are going to use to stitch it. Put that into consideration when doing this. So I'm going to use 9 inches. So this is my 9 inches. And I'm going to use that. So this is going to be my sleeve opening, 9 inches from this point to this point. So we're going to start imputing our measurement. Now make sure you divide all of your measurement, divide them into 4. So I'm going to divide my own measurements now. So remember this point, and then I'll add my allowance for ease because I want it to be free. I don't want it to be tight. So I'm just marking it like this. So the next measurement, so the same measurement that I have on the bust line, I'm just going to take it and bring it to the waistline part. So the hip and part, I'm going to add my hip line and measurements now. So you add your own measurements. You increase it. You could decide to increase. You could decide to add allowance as much. Like I told you initially, when making a dress like this, you have 2 options. It's either you use the person's regular measurement, that's the actual measurement, and then you add about 4 inches allowance for ease, or you could decide to just measure the person with the tape. For instance, if you are measuring the sleeve, now how free you want it to be, you could just decide to measure it from the original measurement, and then you know how free you want it to be. So that's the 2 options that you have. I'm just trying to explain this, so because at times people, they will normally ask how much allowance did you add. So these are how you know how to add your allowance that will make the dress free. So I'm going to add my hip measurement now, and then I'll add my ease to it. And then the same thing that I have here, I'm going to take to my hem line. So I'm going to connect all of my lines now. So I'll connect these ones first, and then I'll show you how to blend this part. So for this part, here's what I'm going to do, because I'm trying to create a curve. I'm trying to create a curve like this. So this is where the measurement is. This is the measurement. So I'm trying to create a curve. So here's what I'm going to have. So I'm going to blend it. In order for me to do that, because if I do it like this, I'm going to run into problems. So in order for me to do this, to make it really simple, I'm going to come down again by 1 inch. And then that 1 inch will enable me blend it properly. So you see what I have now. It is blended and properly. So I'm just going to blend it out to this part. So I'm going to cut it out now. So when stitching, after stitching this part, I'm going to notch this part in. So to give it that, so once I notch this part in, it will give it that relaxed effect on the dress. So So you see the dress, you see it's looking good and beautiful. So I'll trim out this part a little bit because it's not equal. So we have our back and our front piece. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to cut out the front neckline. So the back neckline is okay. So I'll cut out the the front neckline. So you see what I'm going to do. So I'm cutting it out from the entire width of the neckline. That's this point now is the 3.5 inches, and then from this part, which is the bust line, is 2 inches, and then from this hem line is 1 inch that I'm using on this part. So I hope you understand. So that's that. It is really simple. We're done. The next thing we're going to do now, we're going to go and start stitching together. So I'm going to show you now how to join them together. This is the back piece. So this is the back. You are going to decide what you want to do with your neckline. If you want to finish your neckline with a bias binding, or you want to use you want to cut out facing, so you choose. Most times I always prefer making use of a facing. So I'm just trying to show you how it is going to look like. I'm not joining my side seam yet. I'm just going to go and join the shoulder part. That's what I'm going to join. We'll join the shoulder first before we fix the collar. So here is how it's going to look like. So I'm going to stitch the shoulder and then stitch this shoulder also. So after stitching my shoulder, I'll come back and then we'll cut out the collar. It's really simple. Even as a beginner, you could actually pull this off in no time. So let's just go. I'll do that and then come back. So you can see I've joined my dress. I've joined it on the shoulder line. I joined the shoulders together just like I explained to you. I joined it on along the shoulder line, both sides. The next thing I'm going to go and do now, I'm going to join the side seam. So I'm going to use 1/4 inch to join my side seam. I'm going to use 1/4 inch. I'm just going to join the side seam together. So after joining the side seam, I made a strap, just like a long strap. So I just used 2 inches of I cut out from my Ankara. I used the 45 inches width of Ankara. I measured it in 2 inches, so you could see this is 2 inches. That's what I'm going to use as the collar. So I joined it together, so I'll have a very long strap that will run through. This is how it's going to run through. It's going to run through. This is the down part of my dress. It's going to run through like this, and then run through the neckline, and then from the other side it's going to come to the hemline. So because I actually joined it together at the center, I'm going to start fixing that part from the back. So this is the right side of the back. I'm going to fix it like this. I'm going to take this point like this. I'm just going to fix, it's just simple. I'm just going to fix it straight like this. So after joining the side seam, I'm going to join this also like this. I'm just going to keep joining until I get, this is the right side, until I get to the hem line on this side, and then do the same thing to this other side. So I'll just go quickly do that, iron it, and then I'll come and show you how we're going to create out the casing that we're going to use for the rope waist. Okay guys, so before I continue, I was supposed to go and join the side seam and then fix the collar just like I explained to you, but I made pocket. I decided to add pockets to it, but I'm a little bit short on my fabric right now. So I just made, the pocket I made is not really big. So I'm just going to attach it here. I'm going to use 21 inches from the shoulder to 21 inches. So all I just did, since I did not have enough fabric, I just did a square fabric, square pocket. So I used 7 inches of 6. That's what I did. Okay, 7 of 7. So it's a complete square. 7 inches, 7 inches. I made it about 8 inches and then used the other 1 inch to tuck it in. So you see what I did? I folded it inward like this. I folded it inward and then I ironed it down. So I'm just going to place it now. This is the 21 inches line. I'm going to from this point, from the collar point, so I'm going to do 2 inches. So that's just like the distance from the collar part. So I'm going to pin it down and then stitch it. Okay, so for the neck collar now, so this is the center part of my collar. Here's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to fix it. This is the center where I joined it together, so I'm just going to place it here, and then I'm going to stitch it around just the way I explained to you earlier on. I'm just going to fix it around. So once I'm done, I'll use an overlock seam to close up the edges to make it neat. So this is the front part now. So I'll do that now and then come back for us to come and show you how to fix the rope, the casing for the rope. Yeah. Okay, so I finished stitching it. So the edges, you're going to put a notch. Remember this curved part like this. You're going to put tiny notches around it. The essence of putting these tiny notches is to enable the armhole part, let it relax and properly. So I'm going to iron it. So this dress, you can still call it a kimono. What I just realized now is that this dress, you could actually decide not to, just the way it is now that we're finished, without adding, without closing the front. You can decide to even leave it this way also. Just put your rope, your waist rope, and then it's going to now be like a kimono also, but it's going to have a rope. It's really beautiful. So I'll just iron and then I'll come back. Okay, welcome back, guys. So you could see I've finished fixing. I've joined my side seam. I've joined the side seam together. I've fixed the pocket. I've joined the collar like I said. So I just started it is a straight collar and then I fixed it all. The next thing we're going to do now, okay, what I did, I made two ropes here. I made 2 ropes. This one I just cut a long strap of fabric and then folded it together and then just give it a stitch. You could decide to use a bias for this. It depends on how slim you want it to be. Just make your own choice. And then the length of the rope, you could decide to choose how long you actually want it to be. So what I have here is about 2 yards. That's 2 yards of fabric. That's the stretch. And then I made another kind of like a rope. So this is what I'm going to use for the casing. So you could see it. This is what I'm going to use for the casing. I just because this part is savage, so I just left it, and then I folded this part in and ironed it down. So we're going to be stitching. I'm going to be stitching the 2 edges so that this rope now will now be able to pass through this point. And then the inches that I use, the inches that I use is about 2 inches. So when you fold at the end of the day, once you fold like this, you'll be able to stitch it neatly. So it's going to still be okay at the end of the day. And then the next thing I'm going to do now, how we're going to create our casing, we're going to run this case that I made, we're going to run it through the waistline from this point like this now to the end, to this end. We're going to run it through. So what you are going to do, you are going to determine where you are going to have cut, where you are going to place your casing. That's where you want the rope to be. If you want it on your waist, the upper part of your waist or the down part, you are going to determine that, and then you measure from your shoulder. That's from your shoulder measurement. Let me place it this way so you see it properly. You measure from your shoulder point like this to where you actually want yours to be. So mine, I actually made use of 16.5 inches. So I'm going to place it in between 16 and 17 inches. That's what I'm going to do. The casing, I'm actually going to place between 16 and 17 inches. But the line that I made on 16.5 inches line. So you could see the line. I made it from this edge. So it ran through to the other end of the dress, of this kimono dress. So you could also call this a kimono. So at the end of the day, once I'm done, that's when I'm going to close the front part. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go back to the machine I'm just going to explain to you. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my casing like this, and then I'm going to place it like I said I'll place it in between. I'm going to place it like this. So I'm placing it in between like I said, and then this part, this savage, I'm going to tuck in like this and then place it in between, and then I'll give it a top stitch. I'm going to stitch, you stitch with a matching thread. I'm going to stitch along this line and then stitch along this side also. I'm going to do that to the entire stretch. You understand? I'm just going to keep stitching, and then I'll stitch this one also. Just make sure you pin it. You could decide to pin it down before you start, and then I'll continue like this. I would stitch until I'll get to this other end of the dress, until I'll get to this other end, and then I'll stop here. For this, you could decide to do this in two ways. You could decide to add elastic. If you don't want to do a full casing, you could decide to add elastic. You could decide this and back piece, this is the back piece. You could decide to just use elastic on this back piece. That's, you just cut out a strap of elastic and then you stitch it here, and then this part is already unfolded, and then you could just decide to case just from this part to this part, and then you case from this part to this part. So in doing that, once you case from this part to this part, you are just going to put the rope on this side and then add the rope on this side, but the middle part will have elastic on it. So you could decide to do it that way. So but mine, I think I'm just going to case everything and then just put the rope and pull all together. So that's another way of doing that. So I'll just go and stitch it now, just as I explained to you, and then come back and fix and join it, the front together. Okay guys, so you see I finished stitching it. You could see it is the thread on this side is not even showing. So I'm going to turn the back now for you to see. So I'm going to bring it close, so close to my camera, so you could see how it is looking at the back. You could hardly not see, even notice the thread. So that is how it is going to be. And then on this side, so you could see the inside. So this is how the inside looks like. You could see it's neatly done inside. The next thing I'm going to do now, before I put the rope, I'm going to show you how to close the front. So like I was saying, you could decide to leave it like this. There are some of this tie that they actually leave like this. You don't need to join the front. You are just going to leave it like this, and then once you put the rope, you put it on and then you pull, and then it closes on its own together and gives it a very good covering. You could rock it with a jeans. You could rock it like that. You could just wear something inside and then rock it like that. But this, I'm going to be closing a part of it. So I'm just going to do a quick explanation for you to see how I'm going to close it right now. So I'm going to place it like this, and then I'll pick any part. So this is the part where the rope is going to come out from. So I'm just going to put this on top of this like this. No, okay, let me take this. So this is the part where the rope is going to be. I'm going to place it like this. So here's what I'm going to have. Here's what I'm going to have. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to take it to my machine from this part. This is the part where the rope is going to cut. This is where my rope is going to come out from, which is my waist, which is the waist part. So from this down part of the waist, I'm going to do a top stitch. I'm going to do a top stitch. I'm just the way it is like this. I'm going to use a clean stitch from this down point like this. I'm just going to stitch it to the hem line. This is the hem line. This other extra part I'm going to cut off. This whole part is allowance. I'm going to cut it all off. So I'm just going to do a top stitch from this point like this. I'll take it straight down to this hem line like this, just to secure it. Okay, so it's only this top part that is the part that will be open. So but because of the kimono nature of the dress, it's going to be closed. So once you put it on, it's still going to be covered and secure. So I'm just going to go and do that right now. Take this part, like I said, I'm just going to run a stitch straight down, and then I'll fold the down part. And then for my sleeve, so for your sleeve, you could choose to do a turn up for your sleeve. So for this, I'm not going to do a turn up. I'm just going to fold. I'm not going to do it. I'm not turning it up. I'm going to fold it. So I'm just going to fold it in. So I could use hemming gum. I think I should do hemming gum. I'm just going to use my hemming gum. I'll tuck it in like this and then just iron it down with my hem gum, so it's going to be secured and it's going to look neat. That's what I'm going to do now, and then I'll come back and show you the complete look on the mannequin. I'll show you how to insert the rope, and then I'll put it on the mannequin for you to see. Okay guys, so you see our dress. We are so done with it. So you could see the waist, you see, and the stitch, the top stitch that I was talking about. So this is it. So I just ran it through, so that helps me now to secure this part, that's from the waist downward. So if you still want to do the same thing to the top part, all you have to do is you just push it in a little bit, and then you just push it in like this. Just still push it in like this from this point, and then you secure it to how and wide you want your neckline to be. Just secure it that way, so it will still work like that. So in fixing our elastic now, you're just going to use your pin or whatever way you normally pass in thread into, or pass in elastic into your cases, and then you take it like this, and then I'm just going to push it through this point, and then I'll push it in and then bring it out from the other part. So once I'm done, I'll put it on the mannequin for you to see. Just keep pushing it through, because it is a straight case. You are not going to have any problem. So you see. Okay, so and there's something that I realized, so I'm going to try to explain to you now. So this rope, you see what I did? I made a tiny on the collar, I made a tiny cut, so the rope comes out like this. So you could see, you know, I actually passed it in from the inside like this. So here's what I'm going to do now. On this point like this, I'm going to make a tiny cut, just like I did on this side. You're just going to make a tiny cut here just beside, so you could pass out the rope to the front from that part. So I've made just a tiny cut, and then what I'm going to do now, that cut is just for you to pass the rope, to pass it out, let it come to the front. So that's just like the basic essence of that rope. So you see how it is looking now in the front. So this dress is looking so beautiful. I really like the outcome. So I'm just going to show you the final. So see the back. So you see how beautiful it is looking. Okay guys, so at the end of the day, so you see what we have. It came out beautifully, where our waist our rope waist dolman dress actually came out beautifully well. So you see the back, so you see how beautiful the back is looking like. It is really beautiful. It came out so well. So you could see the front. This was what I was talking about. It's really well covered, so you don't need to fear nothing. So thank you so much. If you find this video helpful and you have not subscribed already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit on the like button also. I'll see you in my next video. Bye, and God bless you.